Hey guys, Xlice here. Robin Summeretto is coming out, which means that Robin is job changing from Harmony to also Harmony, but disguised as Remembrance. The new Summer Robin is yet another insanely broken support, and fortunately, or unfortunately, does literally everything, making her extremely versatile and provides the most cohesive set of buffs in one character kit. In this complete and detailed guide, I'll explain everything you need to know about Summer Robin. We'll start with what she does in combat, then go over everything useful you need to know about her kit, then go through her best builds, light cones, and relics, cover her Eidolons, which teams she's useful in, spoiler, basically everything, run through a gameplay showcase, and give you a final review on if you should pull her. Disclaimer on screen since it is Creator Server, and with that out of the way, let's get into it. So, Summer Robin is a Wind Remembrance character who summons her songbirds as memo sprites and provides a truckload of aura buffs that are always present as long as she's vibing. Let's go over what she does in combat. So, immediately upon entering the battlefield, her technique will advance her by 20% to be first to act or close to it. Increases her tooltip counter by 6 and grants all allies 30% damage bonus for 2 turns. The tooltip counter is called Vibes. They can stack up to 50 at E0 and are responsible for a majority of the buffs that she provides. Now her first turn will be using her skill. This summons the first songbird Bessie and grants her 20 extra energy for a pretty fat first time 50 energy skill. These songbirds are memo sprites with 70% of Robin's max HP and 180% of her speed, so they are pretty fast. Once Bessie is summoned, when Vibes reaches at least 6, Drummy will be summoned, and then at 12, Patty will be summoned. All CC is dispelled from Robin and her birds, and Robin enters a fever state and deploys a zone. Once Robin is in this fever state, ideally for the rest of combat, she never actually takes her turn again. We'll get into this in just a second, but first, the juicy buffs. While she's in the fever state, she'll gain a personal damage bonus to herself and her songbirds, ranging from 60 to 160%. While the songbirds are present, all enemies take more damage based on number of songbirds active, so 8, 12, or 16%. While the zone that is deployed is active, all allies ignore defense ranging from 15 to 40%. And then this one's always active. Each ally gets a specific tailored buff to their stats. If they have higher attack than her, they gain a huge attack boost. If they have less attack than her, then they gain a huge crit damage boost. The attack can range from 1100 to 2500 plus flat attack, which is as high as it sounds, kind of insane. And the crit damage can also range from 40 to 115%, which is also pretty juicy. All of these stat ranges that you see for each buff is dependent on the number of vibes Robin has at any given moment, so the more, the merrier. Okay, so what do you mean by she never takes her turn again? So this is due to how her vibes work. Robin gains 1 vibe whenever an ally uses an attack, or when healing or shielding occurs once per ally turn. So the more attacks, the more vibes, since there is no limit on the attacks. Healing and shielding is limited at max once per ally turn. You'll also notice on the action bar that once Robin's in fever state, her turn is no longer there, but instead there's an action for the songbirds and also this note. The songbirds action is AoE HP scaling damage. You don't really need to worry about that one. The note is her fever state countdown. Every time this countdown takes action, Summer Robin loses 50% of her current vibes, with a minimum of 12. If her vibes reaches 0 after this action, the songbirds disappear and Robin leaves fever state and action advances forward by 50%. So basically, if her vibes when that note comes up is less than 12, then she'll go to 0. At that point, she will leave the state, and you'll be sad. Otherwise, Robin just keeps vibing and doesn't have a turn, it takes away from her vibes. We do want Robin to stay vibing the whole time. Most of the time, this isn't really an issue, since Robin will reach 40 to 50 vibes pretty easily before the countdown, so she'll just drop to about 20 to 25, and then she'll ramp up slowly again for the next countdown. Even though she never takes her turn again, she can still ult in this state, so no worries about that. Her ult is an extremely powerful 100% action advance alongside 20% max energy funnel. This makes her ult an out of turn action advance, which gives you huge control on when and who you want to use it on. If you do somehow decide you want to action advance a different support that can also action advance, Summer Robin does prevent that character from using action advance actions for 2 turns. This is to prevent looping action advances for obvious infinite reasons. Okay, so if she doesn't take her turn, how does she get energy? 2 ways. First is her super fast songbirds. Whenever they take action, they do it pretty frequently, they will supply her a majority of her energy when they attack. Second, every time she gets healed or shielded, she'll gain 12 stacks of what's called Groove. Whenever she gains vibes, during any target's turn, she converts 1 groove stack into 3 fixed energy. This allows her to get a bunch of chip energy from sustained teammates. So overall, this is what Robin's playstyle looks like. You're gonna skill on her first turn, then you're just gonna chill until she has ult. And then you can choose exactly when and who to target your ult to get maximum turn value and energy funneling. Keep the vibes high and you'll profit. Let's finalize some things and then get to her builds. So A6 Trace grants Robin and her Songbirds 50% crit rate. This gives her an easy way to use extra crit stats to deal extra chip damage. We will still be prioritizing speed and HP to maximize her buffs. Trace nodes are giving 6.7 crit rate, 14 speed, and 18 HP. Leveling priority on screen. Talent, Memo Talent, and Ult all contain scaling buffs, so prioritize those first. Memo skill is also worth leveling since it is all of her chip damage and scales pretty well with HP. Basic and skill are ideally never used after the first turn. Now, let's take a look at her light cones. So her signature provides 30% HP, 1 SP after ult usage, a 30% Von Whack action advance effect on entering combat, and 20% speed for all allies for 2 turns. Now, this light cone doesn't actually look that crazy on paper, and you'd mostly be right. The main value is that 20% team-wide speed for 2 turns, which for Robin ends up being permanent throughout the whole fight if she stays vibing the entire time. As long as she doesn't hit 0 vibes, she never actually ends her turn, which means this 20% speed is a perma boost for your whole team. Now, if you're on the fence about whether this light cone is worth it, it really comes down to if 20% speed is worth your pulls. The max HP and 1 SP are nice, but you won't really feel the difference with or without. And the action boost effect already exists through her technique at 20%, and you can even add 2-piece Von Whack for the real boost if you really wanted to. As long as she's the first one to act to set up her skill, it doesn't really matter how far up she is. Now, for other alternatives, you can run the F2P 5-star Memories Curtain Never Falls for some self-speed and a perma damage bonus for allies. Remember that you don't need to worry about buff duration since she's staying in turn 1 the whole fight. And then she can also run the 4-star Stories Next Page if you pulled it from the gacha for some simple max HP to scale her attack buff. And of course, if all else fails, you can just pick a simple HP stat stick like a Bailu signature just for the base HP right here. The passives, you won't get any of that, like not even this max HP, so it'll just be the base HP here, and then she'll skill into the HP percent she'll get from her relics. So for my personal recommendations, I do think that Signature or Memories Curtain S5 are probably my 2 preferred picks. This gives a stable option for the F2Ps here, and then the collectors can aim for her Signature if you value team-wide speed. Now running through relics. So 4-piece Deliverer will be best in slot, providing 24% max HP for herself and a perma uptime 15% damage bonus. Otherwise, just run simple speed setups. A 2-piece speed is a simple layout, or you can run a 4-piece messenger for a targetable speed buff on ult. I generally prefer raw speed on these 2-piece over raw HP here, since she's going to have quite a lot of HP percent from stats alone, and one can never have enough speed in this game. For planners, we have a couple options. 2-piece Amphorius will be best in slot, providing team-wide perma speed. Otherwise, you can just run some simple ER-based sets. 2-piece Lushaka is our go-to for attack scalers, and 2-piece Von Whack can further boost her action forward if you need be. For main stats, we are maximizing speed while blending as much HP and grabbing crit wherever possible. So HP or crit damage body, speed boots, HP over damage orb, and then ERR rope. For the body, HP is a must-use if buffing and attack scaling DPS, and if not, HP or crit damage both work. Same deal for the orb, if attack scaling DPS, always use HP orb, otherwise HP or damage both work. For a generic multi-purpose, I'd stick with just HP for the body and orb. This works for either attack or non-attack scalers and doesn't require you to swap between builds. However, it is worth mentioning her chip damage adds up with her Songbirds, so if you plan to place her in an HP scaling comp, crit damage body and damage orb can improve her damage where HP is heavily diminished and you don't need the attack buffs. Now, of course, these are all baseline recommendations. Optimal builds will also depend heavily on Lycone choice, team comp, and difficulty of content. When you've got a full build, this is what you can approximately expect. So HP, I would say, is 6,000 or above. Honestly, as high as possible if you're buffing for attack scalers. Speed, you want to be as high as possible as well. For crit rate, capped at 50% if you're building damage, and then crit damage is as needed. Energy regen at 119%. The most important stats for inner build are speed and HP. Any extra rolls can land into crit as needed. High-end builds with 4 to 5 substat rolls on each piece can probably achieve the following: 7 to 8,000 HP, 50 crit rate, 150 to 175 speed, and then 100 crit damage. If you do run a crit damage body, this will increase by about 60%, so you can probably hit about 150 to 200%. Now let's run through Eidolons. E1. Her songbirds now gain a true damage effect similar to Tribi E1 or Cypher's ult. She'll keep a tally equal to 100% of your team's damage and deal true damage when her songbirds attack. At max vibe, the conversion is 16%. Now the tally only clears 50%, which means this actually scales quite well the longer the fights go on. If you're familiar with a bit of nerdy math, the total damage here is a 1/2 geometric series, which gives you a total conversion of 32% true damage over an infinite fight from just one of these stacks. This does indeed mean it is stronger than Tribi's E1 at just 3 songbird attacks in. Now, given how fast the songbirds act, because they are 180% of Robin's speed, so nearly 300 if she's about 160, this ramps up very quickly. E2. 18 res pen, max vibes increase from 50 to 70, and much faster general vibe stacking. Now the vibes increase to 70 alone is already a massive bonus that scales into everything in our kit. Her def ignore will increase from 40 to 50%. Attack bonus is 20% stronger, no matter what value it is. Crit damage bonus increases from 115 to 145%, and E1 increases from 16 to 18% true damage. Overall, just kind of insane if you combine the two. E4, she gains 12 more vibes instantly after entering the fever state, starts at 12, so this will boost her from 12 plus to 24 plus right away. And then her songbirds get even faster for more attacks and more E1 true damage procs. And finally, E6. Songbirds now deal twice as much damage, and Robin can store up to 2 charges of her ult. Not only that, but she gains a full ultimate charge worth of energy upon entering fever state for the first time and every time the fever countdown passes. So basically twice as much damage and literally twice as many ults. Absolutely insane. Overall, her Eidolons look absolutely crazy. E1 and E2 are already powerhouses responsible for approximately 25% DPS increase each. And then E6 just doubles the action count of your hyper carry while also doubling the true damage value from E1. So pretty juicy. Thresholds, E1, E2, E6. Alright, now for teams and showcases. So, where exactly are we putting Summer Robin? Almost anywhere. She provides 2 core mechanics that you can play around: targetable action advance and energy funneling. Since most comps are pretty well defined, the best way for me to describe where you should put her is what character she replaces in any of these comps. So the most popular replacement will be RMC. Anywhere you'd use RMC, Summer Robin goes right in that slot and makes the team stronger. This also includes similar characters like Sunday and Sparkle. These are our action advancers, and Robin is now the best version of them all. One specific mention about Sparkle though. Robin does not compensate for her SP generation. So for a team like you see here, where Archer, Rin, Sparkle, and would originally be Huohuo, Robin replacing Sparkle is possible, but SP may be much more strict to manage. In this team, I find that Robin is more likely to replace Huohuo to enable an aggressive, sustainless team. Here are some other very common teams and who Robin will replace. Ashblade, Ashvale, Mortblade, Tribi, and Huohuo, where Robin replaces Tribi or Huohuo for sustainless. Himiko Nova, so Himiko plus Welt or DHPT to enable Decimation or Verdict State, and then we have Mortblade and then RMC or Huohuo. So Robin will be replacing that RMC or Huohuo spot. For Huohuo, it'd be sustainless. And then something like this for the Fate Kings. We have Saber plus Gil, plus again, RMC or M-Blade and Huohuo. Robin will replace MC or Huohuo for sustainless again. And then Remembrance. So any combo here really works. All you really need to keep is Hyacinth because she's basically a must. You can do Casto plus Evernight or Cyrene plus Summer Robin plus Hyacinth. You can also do an Evernight DPS comp with Cyrene and then RMC or Summon Robin. And then you can do a DPS Cyrene comp with Evernight or RMC, and then keep Summer Robin and Hyacinth. You can mix and match most of these characters and be perfectly fine. Just make sure Hyacinth is in there. And finally, without getting too crazy, the following DPS also gain value from Summer Robin: Phynon, Aglaya, Anoxa, Silverwolf 999, and Evanescia. For all of these DPS, you'll notice that Summer Robin is replacing RMC or your sustain. We're making sure to keep core important supports like Saridra or Yao Guang on their respective teams. Again, her versatility is pretty similar to Mortblade, so don't feel limited by the characters mentioned here. They are just the strongest beneficiaries of her buffs, but not the only ones who actually work. Anyways, I've prepared 2 showcases, and honestly, she just enables raw giga damage. With the amount of teams that I mentioned she works on, it would take quite a while to show them all. So at least with these 2, you can see how easy she is to play, how powerful she makes your DPS, and some fine-tuned advice that I have from playtesting her. So first up, Ashblade with Huohuo. Against MOC Starward mode, this team is able to perform a close 0 cycle clear, and here are the most important findings from my testing. Everyone here is E0S1, with Ashvale on 134 plus speed, and Mortblade on a hybrid speed plus ERR rope build. This team is very, very fluid with double energy funnelers, and Ashvale gets so much uptime off, with Robin directly advancing him every chance she gets. Now it is ideal to wait for Ashvale to first act and then action advance just for those double turns. With Robin's signature, there is 0 SP pressure on the team, which means Huohuo can choose whether or not to spam basic or spam skills for more energy. If you don't have Robin's signature here, then you might have a bit more SP pressure, and Huohuo will probably basic attack more often. With the super high action count from Robin's Songbirds and Mortblade's attacks, Ashvale has no issue using all of his follow attacks very, very quickly. Overall, this is a very solid mixed DPS team, with Ashvale focused on the single target and Blade covering the AoE. For the second showcase, I've decided to run an Archer Rin Sustainless. We're maintaining Sparkle for that SP and running Robin for double action advance. Everyone is E0S1 here, and I've chosen to keep Sparkle on her signature for the crit rate bonus. DDDS5 is an excellent alternative if you prefer. Against MOC Starward mode, this team is able to perform a disgustingly fast 0 cycle clear. Here are the most important findings from my testing. Because we are running Sustainless, we are pretty much hyper aggressive on full sending Archer combos, not even waiting for Robin to reach full fever. Sparkle ult plus joint follow-up attacks from Rin make the SP quite manageable, and we actually have the choice of basic attacking on Sparkle if we have Robin's ult ready. Now, since Sparkle gains the same amount of energy from basic attacking or skill, this actually gives the team a lot more breathing room, since Robin and Sparkle can effectively alternate their action advances depending on what's available. In ideal situations, we do want to make sure Archer acts before Rin to consume all the SP necessary and just give Rin a huge nuke. Now, Robin's ult allows us to have full control on how we want to set up turns for the best all-ins, which makes this pretty easy. Overall, highly impressed with this team setup. So, is it worth pulling for Summer Robin? I think that if you use RMC often, Robin will be a great improvement to your roster because she's a major upgrade to all teams that commonly use RMC. Now, if you want my honest opinion, I don't think that Robin is a must pull. But I do think, don't want to get ganked by that right now, but I do think anyone who does pick her up will not regret her at all. Just like Mortblade, she is a highly effective support with 0 friction on gameplay, has universal buffs that work on all team comps. If you have every single best in slot support for every single team, I love you, Robin, but good lord. If you have every single best in slot support for every single team, then Robin's value might be a little lower for you. But I've learned from my mistakes in the past. I will still recommend pulling for her even if you have every support, because she will be the priority pick in almost every situation. So, not a must pull, but a damn good one. If you're planning on pulling for her, I wish you the best of luck. Let me know in the comments what you think of her, and don't forget to like and sub for complete character guides and summon videos. If I do end up making an easier to E6 Summer Robin showcase, that will be released on my second channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.